7 Days to Die Alpha 20 changed loot drastically, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you how to take advantage of these changes and get the best loot in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20. Your loot is based off of a number called your loot stage. You can see your loot stage in the character menu here. This will be helpful because there's a lot of maths involved in this mechanic that you won't have to do because you can simply look at this number. I'll explain how to make your loot stage go up later. First, I need to cover loot tiers so you know what number you even want. So there are 4 tiers of loot in 7 Days to Die, and I'm going to call them Tech 0, Tech 1, Tech 2, and Tech 3. The reason I'm calling them Tech and not Tier is just to keep them separate from some other terminology we'll be using later. Tech 0 is the starting loot table. This contains your basic equipment like level 1 and 2 clubs and padded armor. Tech 1 is unlocked when you are loot stage 40 or higher. Yes, I am aware that this is different from Alpha 19, and I'm also aware that other YouTubers have said different numbers in Alpha 20 loot videos. They were mistaken. You can see the loot tech tiers in loot.xml if you'd like to verify it for yourself. Tech 1 opens at loot stage 40, and this is the tech tier where tier 1 firearms like AK-47s, double barrel shotguns and hunting rifles will enter the loot table, as well as tier 2 melee weapons like baseball bats and iron knuckles. Do note that reaching loot stage 40 is merely the start of Tech 1, and the chances of getting these items is still rare at this stage, and increasing your loot stage further will massively increase the chance of these items and the quality of the items you'll get. Tech 2 opens at loot stage 80, and this is where your tier 2 firearms like lever action rifles, pump action shotguns and 44 magnums come in, along with low level tier 3 melee weapons like steel sledgehammers and clubs. Again, they are still rare until you raise your loot stage further, but 80 is the earliest point you will see low level versions of these items spawning. At loot stage 118, Tech 3 opens. This is where the late game tier 3 firearms like the M60 and auto shotgun will start to enter the loot table. Higher loot stages not only increase the chance of getting a particular tech's items, but also higher quality items. For example, the sniper rifle will be lootable at loot stage 118, but you won't get a level 6 sniper rifle until much later loot stages are achieved. Around about loot stage 164 is when level 6 Tech 3 items will enter the loot table. In the game the quality template ends at loot stage 262. Beyond that, your chance to get level 6 Tech 3 items does not increase as far as I can tell, which means if you're trying to loot Tech 3 quality 6 weapons, the loot stage goal you're trying to hit for peak efficiency is 262 or higher. So now you know what loot stage is and you have a rough idea of what items spawn at what loot stage. How do you fill in the blanks? Well, there are a number of factors to increasing your loot stage. The first factor is your player level. Player level is the foundation of your loot stage. A level 1 player with no other loot modifiers is simply loot stage 1. A level 300 player with no other loot stage modifiers is loot stage 300. But getting to level 262 to get good gear seems time consuming. What other factors are there? Well, the next and arguably most significant factor is going to be the biome you are in. The forest biome gives no bonus loot modifiers. However, in the desert and the burned biome on Navezgane, you'll get a 50% boost and a plus 10 to your loot stage. So, a level 10 player in the desert will be loot stage 25. In the snow biome, you will get plus 100%, plus 20 to your loot stage, so a level 10 player in the snow biome will be loot stage 40, and finally in the wasteland you get a plus 150% boost, plus 30 to your loot stage, so a level 10 player in the wasteland will be loot stage 55. You can see now that 262 seems a lot more achievable, but there's even more to loot stage than just that. POI tiers also give a loot bonus. There are 5 tiers of POI in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20. Tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, giving a 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% and 25% loot stage boost respectively, also giving a flat plus 3, plus 6, plus 9, plus 12, and plus 15 to your loot stage respectively. So going into a tier 5 POI will add a massive boost to your loot stage. If you don't know what tier a POI is, the general rule is bigger is bigger. Skyscrapers and factories are tier 5, whereas houses and farms are tiers 1 and 2. You'll get it as you play. I'm not going to tell you every tier of every POI in the game, but I can give you 2 tips for learning it faster if you're a new player. Each tier of POI has a unique tier of loot chest at the end. Tier 1s have a wooden crate, tier 2s have a leather trunk, tier 3s have a reinforced chest, Tier 4s have a small hardened chest, and Tier 5s have a large hardened chest. Also, the tier of a POI corresponds to a tier of quest, so a Tier 1 quest will send you to a Tier 1 POI and so on. Other than that though, you just have to play the game to be able to identify a POI's tier from the outside. It's mostly a matter of playtime and memorizing. So just to recap so far, to get better loot you need to be a higher level, go to a harder biome, and do harder POIs, but there are still two more factors to consider with Lootstage: item modifiers and perk modifiers. There are two items in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20 which give you Lootstage bonuses. The first one is Lucky Goggles. Lucky Goggles are eye clothing which give between 3 and 5 extra loot stage when worn. It depends entirely on luck which ones you get, so be on the lookout for better goggles. And the second item is Eye Candy. Eye Candy is a consumable which temporarily gives you +5 to your loot stage and then a +10% to your total loot stage. You buy it from vending machines for 100 ukes. The last factor to consider is your perk modifiers. The only perk which currently has any effect on loot stage is the perception perk Lucky Looter. Each rank of Lucky Looter gives 5% extra loot stage, up to a maximum of 25%. Now I almost definitely know exactly what you're wondering. What order is all of this done in? Well, we technically don't really know because we don't have access to the equation as far as I was able to see. However, I was able to reverse engineer an equation which would reliably give you the correct answer, so I have to assume the equation is either this or something very similar to this. Either way, it's what we have to work with, and that equation is fairly complicated to look at, but it's actually pretty simple. First, you take the player level, and then you add the biome modifier times by the player level. Then you want to add the flat biome bonus. Then you want to add the POI tier modifier multiplied by the player level. Then add the POI flat bonus. Then add the flat item bonus. With all of these variables added together, you then want to multiply it by the percentage modifier, where the percentage modifier is the sum of the player's current Lucky Looter and Eye Candy percentage bonuses. For example, a level 10 player in the Wasteland will have a loot stage of 55. Inside a tier 5 POI in the Wasteland, they'll have a loot stage of 72. Whilst wearing maxed Lucky Looter goggles, they'll have a loot stage of 77, and if they're using Eye Candy, they'll have 77 plus 5, meaning 82, plus a 10% boost, so 90. If they're using Eye Candy and Lucky Looter, they'll have 82 plus a 35% boost, so they'll have a total of 110. A level 10 player getting a level 110 player's loot. Obviously, it is impossible for a level 10 player to actually max out Lucky Looter, but you get the point I'm making and the maths I'm trying to show you. And if all of that math stuff was completely lost on you, don't worry. You're never going to have to actually do that equation in the game. Simply go to the character menu and look at your loot stage. From there, I think you can figure out many combinations of POI tiers, biomes, and items to get your ideal loot stage. Remember, that loot stage target, if you want to maximize your chances of level 6 Tech 3 gear, is 262. Now, it is worth noting that there is something called a quality +1 template in the game files. This template makes it so that you will get higher quality gear earlier if you loot a container with the boosted loot. But which containers have this boost? To name a few: desk safes, gun safes, buried treasures, blue loot bags, red loot bags, hidden stashes, and all of the end of dungeon loot crates. So keep in mind that you will actually peak your quality chances sooner than 262 when looting those containers. On top of all of that, all those containers also have a small loot stage boost when opened, increasing your loot stage by 5%, and adding 6. But we're still going to aim for 262 because realistically, you don't actually want to worry about those containers very much because they're so low in number per POI. It's a much better idea to focus your efforts on POIs with shipping containers and weapon bags if you want high level gear, as those are often in much larger numbers throughout the game. Weapon crates and bags will give you weapons and mods, tool crates will give you tools and things like crucibles and anvils, vehicle crates will give you vehicle parts and tools, shamway boxes will give you a brain hemorrhage, lab crates will give you medicine and things like beakers and acid, and electronic crates will give you electrical stuff like traps and turrets. End of dungeon loots will give you various quality boosted weapons, tools, armor, and valuables, but their main appeal is ammo. Lots and lots of ammo. To reach loot stage 262 without consumables, items, and perks, just using biome, level, and POI modifiers, you'll want to be level 79 in the Wasteland in a tier 5 POI. This will give you a loot stage of 263. Naturally, you can use Lucky Looter to reach that 25% easier. At level 60 in the Wasteland, in a tier 5 POI with Lucky Looter maxed out, you will have 262 loot stage. So if you're an absolute loot goblin, there's your goal, and 2 ways to get there. Combine that with grinding tier 5 quests for the rewards, and you'll find yourself literally swimming in level 6 tech 3 weapons, tools, and various vehicle parts to construct your own vehicles with. If you found this video informative, do consider leaving a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you really like this video, I think you'll love my video breaking down the numbers of how much stronger archery was made in Alpha 20. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Thank you to my channel members for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.